Hi, welcome to Monday Morning with Tanie. This is a pre-recorded video, and today we're going to talk about part 4 of Living in the Shadow of the Ghosts of Grief. Step into the light, reconciling old losses and opening the door to infinity and love. And this chapter is called How to Heal Your Carried Grief. I am Tanie Reed Walker. I am a counselor with Barron's Rika Warner Family and Community Support Services. I am very honored to be here with you and giving you a space and time to work on your grief journey. I will start with a quote that begins the chapter, and it is, "Change is a door that can only be opened from the inside." And this is from Terry Mitchell. So if you're just joining us now, you might want to go back a couple of weeks and look at the other videos, the first 3 that I did in this realm of carried grief. If you participated last week in identifying some different things that people might be carrying, all the grief that could be inside that may not have had a chance to be expressed. If you did do that, then you're probably wondering, what do I do about this carried grief? Because I think most of us actually are carrying grief from the losses and transitions that happened in our past. And as you are probably here and realizing the different things that you haven't mourned. So mourning is moving those grief feelings out and incorporating those losses into your life so that you are a full multi-dimensional person that has capacity to feel all the feelings. Today we are talking about how to do that, how to get those feelings that we might have stomped down inside of us or pushed away into every nook and cranny, how to get them out and into the open and acknowledged and honored so that you can live a joy-filled life. And what an amazing time to do that right now. Whether this right now is right now, like as I put this video out, or right now for you right now, while you're watching this in the future. Oh, this is a really in-depth process. And I applaud you. I applaud you for the bravery of acknowledging this grief that's been laying there inside you. And looking at working on expressing those big, hard feelings that a lot of us haven't really learned how to address or how to touch upon. I just think that there's so many locked doors inside of us that wouldn't it be nice to be able to open them up and air them out and be able to walk in them and have memories and be able to just witness those memories. So what we're going to be doing is called catch-up mourning. And catch-up mourning is going backwards and giving attention to any grief you have carried from the past losses in your life. The purpose is going back and doing the grief work. And it's anchored in eventually freeing you to go forward with newfound meaning and purpose in your life, living and loving. When we don't work on our past griefs and losses, we can often be afraid to move forward. We can be afraid to give fully of ourselves for fear that it's going to hurt. And when you are afraid of that hurt, you also deny yourself that deep love and that deep joy and that deep connection. So the model that Dr. Alan Wolfelt uses has several parts. Let me get to it. There is 4 steps. The 4 steps are: 1, acknowledging your carried grief. And if you're here, I imagine that you have started acknowledging it. If you went through last week's video in talking about whether or not you're carrying grief, a lot of ahas might have come up for you. I know that myself, even as I continue doing grief work, and I've been doing grief work for many, many years, I still come up with ahas. It's kind of like a spiral. So you start really big, and you keep going around and around and around, or you can go around and around up, but each level is different. But you do keep going around. Life is a cycle. And right now, it's the holiday season, like the winter holidays up north. If you're way down south, it's summery holidays, but this season is full of a lot of holidays and a lot of traditions, and it comes around every year, and it's a time for deep reflection, and a lot of people have carried grief around this time of year that they're not acknowledging, and they're trying to cover it up. And I talked about the covering up stuff in the video before. I don't know if you can tell, but if you haven't seen the video before, I suggest you watch it. Okay, acknowledging carried grief. So yay, you've acknowledged it. That's a huge step. Our society does not like to acknowledge that stuff. Step 2, overcoming the resistance to the work. Even when I'm preparing to do these videos, I read the chapter before, and sometimes I listen to like podcasts and watch videos, and I can only read a page or 2 at a time, and I have to like stop and process it. And I've been doing this for a long time. And how I do it is I integrate my own life stories, and then other people's life stories pop up in my mind, and it's huge, and it takes a lot of work. And sometimes I might procrastinate, and I might have some resistance to doing it. There was a holiday, I can't remember if it was last month or month before, on the Monday, and I was supposed to do a video beforehand to post for that day, but I had some sort of internal resistance. It was really hard for me to be able to go there. So I actually had to post a video on the day that I wasn't supposed to be working. But in doing this for all of you was important for me, but also acknowledging my own resistance for whatever was going on in that situation. So that's also a reminder to you that sometimes if you're feeling some resistance or you're just too tired, it's okay to take a break. And self-care. Find a way to fill your bucket, but come back to it. Find your reason for coming back to it. And you all are my reason. At least you were that time. Okay, overcoming resistance to the work. Step 3, actively mourning your carried grief. Oh, so just a quick reminder, grief is the thoughts, feelings, images, that are inside you. That's that private stuff that nobody can see. And mourning is moving that out. It's making it public. It's putting the gravestone out. It's practicing the traditions. It's creating art. It's moving. It's talking about it. It's crying. It's singing. It's dancing. It's walking. It's hiking. It's writing letters. Sitting around a campfire, sharing stories. So many ways to actively mourn, but it's moving those things out. And 4 is integrating your carried grief. Grief is a part of humanity. It's part of our lives. And instead of shoving it inside ourselves and trying to hide it and cover it up, I'm going to work on integrating it. So weaving it into the fabric of our lives. Oh, this might be odd, but I just had an image I saw of someone making wigs. And the wig that I remember was a blonde wig. And there was all these different colors of strands put in. There's like pink and purple and yellow and like white. And there's just like, some of the colors surprised me. But when they all were put together, it was beautiful. And you couldn't tell that there was individual pink strands in there. But it all worked together. And I think grief is kind of like that. Those feelings, they work together and they just show that beautiful expression of love. And at the end, it's just, you have to look at it from the whole piece. And so right now you might be really, really looking at those pink strands, and it seems really weird and really odd to be adding that. But in the end, you realize it adds so much dimension to your world and makes it just so much more whole. Okay, so step 1, acknowledging your carried grief. There is not grief that does not speak. And this is from Harry Wordsworth Longfellow. So again, you have hopefully gotten to this video because you have acknowledged that you're carrying grief. And that self-awareness is extremely empowering. How wonderful that you know more about yourself. And I wonder, do you have more self-compassion, realizing that you're carrying some grief? And I know that in the chat, while we were doing the video last time, there was some young moms who I could see had more compassion for their little ones as they're transitioning through the different phases of their lives. And what a gift for them and for their children. It's so amazing what happens when we realize that transitioning in life is hard. But it doesn't have to be horrendous. We can move through it with compassion and kindness. And just knowing that means you don't have to be defined by it. Just realize it's experience. I'm making this sound very simple, aren't I? I sure hope you don't think that I think this is a simple process. I know this is a hard process. And it's a process that connects us as humanities. So I am grateful for your honor, your honoring of yourself and your feelings and your own commitment to healing and creating a better world for yourself. Oh, that leads to the second part, overcoming the resistance to do the work. And this is a great quote too. To venture causes anxiety, but not to venture is to lose oneself. Søren Kierkegaard. Hopefully I said that right. Oh, so when you're looking at something from a distance, so a good example is you're at the fair and there's a Ferris wheel, and from far away it's like sparkly and colorful and looks like fun, and you can see the people around it and it's amazing and you just want to ride it. But then you get in line, and as you get closer and closer and you look up and up, you're like, oh my Lanta, that's very high. And suddenly you start to get a little nervous, maybe a little anxious feeling, kind of scared. And like, oh, I can't do this. It's just too much. So then next year you come back and you're like, wow, because you can see it like from far away, the sparkling lights, and you can feel the excitement. And so you get there and you buy your ticket and you're getting in line and you look up and you're like, it's still really huge. If you can get through that anxious part and hold the hand of somebody who is with you that you care about and trust and get into that 2-person bucket, you can go up and around, and it's scary, but you can see everything. That's how I envision this. Oh, it's scary. But you gotta buy the ticket and you gotta go in line and you gotta breathe through it. And you've also can realize that ride, it's not going to last forever. You're going to have that experience. And then if you keep going around every year and going on that Ferris wheel, pretty soon you're just chatting in line, eating your cotton candy, getting on the Ferris wheel. No big deal. It's not that it isn't amazing when you get to the top and you still don't have feelings of kind of excitement and joy or fear, a little bit of fear and trepidation when it jerks, but you have some practice at it. So it really is stepping into it. And with grief, a lot of people with that big carried grief, they're afraid that if they start to feel, they're not going to stop and they're just going to crash. I read somewhere, I wish I could remember where, that feelings tend to last about 12 minutes. If you've ever had a really big cry, you've had experience knowing that it ends. It feels like an eternity in the middle of it, but it does end. And so as you face that fear and that resistance to going into that deep space inside you, please hold on to the knowledge that you won't stay in that state forever. We are designed to have feelings flow through us. And what a gift to be able to start letting it actually flow. Instead of saying, oh, there's a feeling, I have to catch it and shove it inside somewhere. We're going to work on letting it flow. You're going to honor yourself. I'm going to read directly this little bit. Honoring literally means recognizing the value of and respecting. So honor your emotional and spiritual life. This is not self-destructive. It's not harmful. It's self-sustaining and life-giving. You are not weak to acknowledge these feelings. You are stronger and more powerful than you'll ever know. you saw me looking up, I was thinking about a quote that I wish I had on hand because I feel like I will garble it. I'll have to bring it next time. Anyway, so set your intention to mourn your grief. Set your intention to work on this catch-up mourning. And set your intention day by day as you can. This is your healing. It may be your first step, maybe I'm going to find a counselor. I'm going to find a group. I'm going to look for support online. Make that commitment to yourself and step forward. Okay, so we're going to give attention. One of the things that Dr. Alan Wolfelt suggests is write down your intention, commit to your own decision, start a journal, and write in it how important you are and how important those experiences are and how important it is for you to move those experiences outward and to work on that. That leads us to step 3, which is actively mourning your carried grief. A wound that goes unacknowledged and unswept is a wound that cannot heal. And that is John Eldridge that said that. So we have acknowledged the wound. We're being brave and deciding to work on it and go against that resistance that we naturally feel, that we've been trained to feel. And moving into actively mourning that grief. So I've already spoken a little bit about how mourning it is moving the grief out and learning to acknowledge and feel and be with those feelings. You don't want to be walking around ignoring your feelings and not having them. It's like you're a zombie then. You're kind of like the living dead. And that is not a way to be. You can have a full, wonderful life. And that is through integrating these experiences into your life. So when you're mourning, you need a place to feel validated. You need permission and space to feel. You need a refuge from your external demands. And so Dr. Alan Wolfelt, and of course I, feel that having a compassionate companion to walk with you and work with you and help you can be very powerful. So that compassionate companion is the one that's going to get on the Ferris wheel with you and experience that Ferris wheel ride from your view. So finding one of these people can be a little tricky at times, but you're worth that journey of finding that compassionate companion. Finding somebody who is willing to learn from you and listen and work at trying to understand your experiences through your eyes. That's really important. One way to find one of these people is to ask around. That can help. And you can also Google it. And when you talk to people, the counselors or the groups, you can ask about information for them. Like, what is their background? What is their philosophy? How do they approach the group? Is there anybody from the groups prior that you can talk to? But the idea is to find somebody who is going to be a temporary guardian of your soul. They are going to help you with your carried pain. They're going to pay attention and help you put attention upon those tender spots that you might gloss over. When you're telling a story, they're going to listen with empathy and unconditional love. And when you try to gloss over something that you're so used to just saying, this is how it was, they're going to be able to stop you and help you realize the carried grief around that situation. You're important. And taking that time and having somebody with you on that journey is really powerful. So find someone who's willing to walk with you and hold your hand and be with you on the journey, and maybe be able to point out different areas off in the distance that you're like, oh, I didn't even notice that, and help you go to that place with kindness and compassion for yourself. They're going to help bear witness to your life experience and keep that treasure sacred. If you could find group therapy for carried grief, that would be an excellent tool as well. Having several people sit and companion each other through their expression of their experiences can create a really safe place, a common ground for mutual healing. Human beings have all experienced grief. And so having that human connection can be extremely healing, because you're not alone. You're not alone in your experiences and not being able to express your grief and mourn it. On a side note, you are allowed to test run counselors. Because you've been assigned a counselor or you paid for a counselor for one session, listen to yourself and try to think, can I have a relationship with this person? Do I feel safe with this person? Do I feel like this person gets me? I often tell my clients, I'm like, it's kind of like tea, if you like tea, but it's kind of like tea. I, personally, maybe chai tea, but you might like green tea or oolong tea or straight up English breakfast tea or black tea. I don't know, but make sure that you like the tea you're being served. And if you don't, that's okay. There are so many different types of counselors out there. And finding one that you resonate with is very important. You want to be able to have a fairly easy relationship with your counselor, and one that you feel safe with. So feel free to ask a lot of questions in your first session. You are the boss of you, and you are the one that is the total expert of your own life experiences. Our job is just to kind of look at it from a little different perspective, sometimes help you slow down and see your journey, because there is no reward for speed on this. There is no reward for speed. I have to say this one little line in his book that I love, and it says, "A very wise person once said, It's possible to listen a person's soul into existence. This line literally brings tears to my eyes. And that's what a compassionate companion can do. I think sometimes our little souls get buried under that moving forward, shoving those losses into the corner. And how beautiful to be able to listen that soul so that it can come out and shine again. Oh, I'm being an awfully sensitive woman today. Okay. That's some big stuff. So your compassionate companion, and if you ever feel like you want to be a compassionate companion, Dr. Ellen Wolfelt has amazing trainings. Amazing. And I think that people who have gone through the process and have worked on their own carried grief, they make such good compassionate companions. Experience is how we grow. And yeah. So anyway, Dr. Alan Wolfelt, Center for Loss and Transition in Colorado. Okay. What will your compassionate companion do? Well, they will help you with these needs. Need 1, acknowledge the reality of the losses. So the book actually has an inventory you can go through. And to help acknowledge the losses. And having a really, really bunch of good conversations about your life. Your compassionate companion will help you go, well, that was a big transition. Tell me more about that. Acknowledge them. I know that myself, I have had to work for years on stopping and acknowledging losses. I've even had to go backwards with my kids, who are adults now, and acknowledge losses that I denied when they were small, and even when they weren't so small. And it's all a journey, and all the things can be healed. Not healed, they can all be integrated. And those experiences can be felt together later on. It's really powerful. Need 2 is to embrace the pain of the losses. So your compassionate companion will be there while you embrace the pain of the losses. They will help you go through it and not charge past it. They'll help you slow down. They'll help you circle around. I've talked to a lot of people, and when you touch on that painful moment, they can launch into a beautiful story to distract you. And it's gently bringing them back. Gently bringing them back. We're going to go through it. It's a hard place to be. So I'm going to work on integrating it and acknowledging it. And again, no rewards for speed. Need 3 is develop a new self-identity. So when we have losses and transitions, our identity changes. So if you have a sibling that died, you might have gone from being a brother and sister in physical reality to an only child. When you graduate from high school, you go from being a high school student to college student, university student, a gap year kid, a full-time employee, a part-time employee. What happens? It's creating a new self-identity. You're redefining who you are. If you have or had cancer, your self-identity may include feelings of body betrayal or being unfairly burdened or victimized. And wouldn't it be nice to have somebody to walk through that to create a different self-identity for yourself? So acknowledging painful losses and these carried grief will help you learn more things about yourself. One of mine was realizing that I'm a compassionate companion. I have naturally tended to be that way when I was little, but as I carried more and more grief, I just had to charge through trying to live life. And through the work that I've been doing for years now, I've learned to slow down. Not perfect, still doing it, still having to circle around. And then sometimes I have to say, I'm sorry, I charged through too fast on that one. Can we take some time? So realize that your compassionate companion is also human. And if they're a good compassionate companion, hopefully they'll circle around and realize when they've gone too fast too. Need 4, a search for meaning. So you will question, naturally, the meaning and purpose of your life. And your companion should help you with that questioning process and help you explore your religious and spiritual background or values. Help you with the why questions and how could this happen to me kind of questions. And help you work through that until you find value and even peace. Wouldn't that be nice? I know even in the last 2 weeks, I found some value and peace in some of the transitions that I had not been, I had not acknowledged. And it's really good. It's really good to keep working on that. Need 5, receiving ongoing support from others. So if you have a professional, compassionate companion, hopefully that person will help you start to identify other people in your life who have the ability to be a compassionate companion. And as you learn how to express yourself more clearly, other people will start to learn how to listen and be that person for you. Keep developing that and remember that this is ongoing. This is life. Grief is always going to be with us. Always. It's like those pink hairs in that blonde wig. It creates more dimension. It's part of the whole experience of love and life. Step 4 is integrating your carried grief. When you've given attention to your carried grief in ways that it deserves and demands, you will begin to experience a sense of wholeness. You will realize that you have an infinite capacity for life. I have talked about this before, but in the dictionary, the English dictionary, I understand there's about 400 words that are feeling words. And how lovely to be able to feel and understand all of the feelings. all of them. They are all part of you. It's all a more beautiful picture of you. So please don't cut anything out. Keep working on this experience. So you may have been felt really anchored in place with your fear and your carried grief, but now you can start being more free, and you can cross the rivers in the wilderness because you've done it. You can go on bigger and bigger Ferris wheels or different rides because you have the experience of facing that challenge and seeing the beautiful scenery at the top of the ride. You know, it always goes down and always comes back up. That's how human beings are. So I hope that this helps you on your journey to a more fully integrated, living life to its most awesomeness self. You are brave, and you are strong, and you are worthy. And I am so grateful for you. You are literally changing the world. We have one more section coming up, and so that will be, the first Monday in January. We'll finish this off. It's part 5. It's the final part in this book, Stepping into the Light. I wish you so much joy, and I wish you all of the 400 feeling words. You are human, and I'm so happy that you're doing this. Take deep breaths. And I'll see you in the new year.